All we do is borrow money and print money and borrow money and print money and spend it into oblivion. We're doomed either way, aren't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, just you watch the markets today. Another example of how the Dow is literally never allowed to go down, as bad as the news is. And I think back to the fiscal cliff deal, 2 or 3 weeks ago, which, I mean, you couldn't have had a worse deal. As you said, the payroll tax is still there, which is going to have a dramatic impact on the economy. And the only changes in the deficit are going to be to increase taxes on mega millionaires, which really it's not. All it's going to do is reduce jobs. It's certainly not going to increase tax receipts. So, what I see coming ahead, though, I mean, just 6 weeks from now, is the true end of this fiscal cliff issue, because they're going to either outright monetize everything, in which the hyperinflation is going to start by the end of the year, in my opinion, or they're going to make decisions which will be so draconian as far as the impact on the economy that the confidence in the dollar is going to fall anyway. So I really think that no matter what happens on March 1st, this propping up the market and pretending that everything's okay is going to be over.
Let's talk a little bit about that payroll tax, that 2% tax hike that we're all feeling. If this government actually cared about the people at all, if it wasn't serving only the banks, that 2% payroll tax hike would not have been put back into place. I want your opinion on that, but before you give me it, let me read this to you from the New York Times via Zero Hedge. Why Americans are broke and getting further in debt. Many of the citizens of the U.S. are also living not just paycheck to paycheck, but short-term loan to short-term loan. The average debt for households earning $20,000 a year or less more than doubled to $26,000 of debt between 2001 and 2010. Everybody's borrowing money to try to keep this American dream alive, including the government.
Right. Well, sadly, it goes back to 1971, and how many times we've said this before. In fact, I just looked it up. When I was born in 1970, the U.S. had $389 billion of debt compared to what it has today. And the fact is, when you create a fiat currency system, the only way it can stay around, it can continue to go on as a Ponzi scheme, is to get larger and larger, to create infinite amounts of debt. And of course, when you do that, the only people that benefit from that are the banks, because they kind of own the government and are part and parcel. But as for the rest of society, it eliminates the middle class entirely and creates your 1% and 99%. And each day you'll see more and more of these statistics, whether it's food stamps, disability, other entitlements, people who need Medicare, Medicaid, all those kind of things just go up, up, up. And of course, the demographics only make things worse. The payroll tax is being thrown on top of all these things. As food stamps, for instance, surged to new highs, and now they're adding 2% tax to the average person. So, all I can say is that these are the final stages of the Ponzi scheme pyramid. And, it's hard to believe we could get through 2013 without another major, major meltdown.
Well, Andy, before we let you go, you touched on it briefly, so I need to circle back and touch on it. Let's flesh this out. Obama on gun control. What do you see happening in terms of the feds coming after the guns, using Sandy Hook as the reason? We need to protect the kids. We need to disarm the people. We know what happens when the people are disarmed. Look at Chicago. Over 500 murders last year in 2012. If you disarm the people, then the only people that have guns are the bad guys. What's your take on what you see happening here?
Well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know what people have said about Sandy Hook. Whether it actually happened as purported, I don't know, and I'm not going to go deep into it. But either way, the central issue is government trying to take power, whether it's the National Defense Authorization Act or the Resources Authorization Act, whatever that thing was called. The fact is, each day more and more executive orders are being issued where they should not be issued. And this is a pretty sensitive one. The Second Amendment is one of the most sacred in America. And when you're talking about a situation where the government is becoming more draconian and evil and right-stealing to try to take away people's one defense against, to defend themselves against the government, that could cause a major, major social revolt. And it scares me because it's only one part of the puzzle, but it's a big one. And again, what it all comes down to is confidence in the dollar. And if he comes out tomorrow and tries to take everyone's guns, as some people are saying, the confidence in the United States and the United States dollar is going to take a big, big hit.
I like how you use that word, confidence. You and I both know this is a con game, and the jig is truly up. As the Bundesbank wants to repatriate its physical precious metals from the New York Fed and from the Bank of France. The jig is up. As this government tries to come after the guns and proves itself to be tyrannical, overtly so, the jig is up. As this government prints money in perpetuity and hyperinflation starts to unleash itself on this nation, the jig is up. We've beaten this to death, Andy, but let's beat it to death some more because people need to hear it. Physical silver and physical gold in your pocket is real wealth that, in theory, this government can't steal from you. What are you guys seeing in terms of demand right now for physical precious metals?
Well, I've been writing about it for some time now, and I say literally the day, December 12th, that they announced QE4, going into the end of the year was the busiest time that we've had since I started at Miles Franklin. It actually slowed for a few days last week, and now it's picked up in a big way. And as you saw, the Mint, they're already on a pace for a record January for selling Silver Eagle. So the physical demand is out there. The numbers that are coming in from China are huge. The numbers, even in India, where they're trying to slow down the demand, it's rising. So I really feel that the kind of confidence issues that are coming into play right now, particularly with this fiscal cliff and debt ceiling issue coming up in 2 months, could be the tipping point that push us to the next gold and silver physical shortage.
Well, Andy, before I let you go, let's just talk about the man behind the curtain, because the man behind the curtain has been revealed, right? We've said that before. Let's say it again, because this Bundesbank thing is truly, as you say, a watershed event, because when the little guys among us, the average Joe, feels that on a daily basis we're so manipulated by these paper games that a lot of people have lost confidence and they don't think silver's ever going to go past 50 because the bad guys control the price. This is truly a game changer, Andy, because this is the central banks saying, we don't trust you, we want our gold back. And so the man behind the curtain is losing all measure of power, because the only power the man behind the curtain had is for central banks to continue to trust each other.
Right, and remember, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's not going to happen in a vacuum. As soon as, this announcement is going to reverberate across all the central banks around the world that are holding gold and silver in the crime centers of London and New York, and it won't be long before you see every single one of them try to get it back. And then, of course, the question is whether it's there. And believe me, if that gold is not there, the Bundesbank is not going to sit quietly.
Well, we certainly live in interesting times. It's always great to have you on, Andy, because you are a straight shooter and our conversations are never dull. Why don't you tell people how they can get physical precious metals from you guys at Miles Franklin?
Just call 800-822-8080. Go to milesfranklin.com, or if you have a personal question, Hoffman at milesfranklin.com.
Well, thanks, Andy. Until we speak again, have a fantastic January, and here's to, I think, what's going to be a very challenging 2013 for America, huh?
Right. And again, when I say protect yourself, I'm not just talking about gold and silver. I'm asking you to think of what the worst-case scenario might be and how you might prepare yourself for it.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. Andy Hoffman from milesfranklin.com. Thanks so much, Andy. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
Take care.
Well, that does it, my friends. Thanks so much for watching. Check out sgtreport.com for all the latest and alternative news. Thanks for watching.